One big noise when rocket, I think, touch my navigation deck. After 2 seconds, explosion.
On May 24th, the Libyan registered oil tanker Anwar Afrika docked 20 kilometers west of ISIS-held Sirte. It was carrying 30,000 tons of gas oil from Greece. As it linked up its second hose to begin fueling the power plant, a missile fired by a Libyan government jet fighter punched a hole through the bridge, went through the captain's bedroom, and blew up 2 decks below. The official Libyan government explanation was that the Libyan-flagged oil tanker was actually carrying weapons and fighters for ISIS in nearby Sirte. At that time, the power plant was occupied by Brigade 166, a militia aligned with Libya Dawn. The first people to respond to Anwar Afrika's calls for help was the Coast Guard from Misrata, 250 kilometers to the west. The Coast Guard sent their 2 aging 25-meter tugboats and did their best to put out the fire. They then towed the 35,000-ton oil ship back to Misrata. The unsung and underfunded Libyan Coast Guard had successfully avoided an ecological and human disaster. The Misrata Coast Guard is also on the front lines of Libya's fight against human trafficking. They're badly equipped, badly paid, and many of them told us that they double up as part-time fishermen to get by. Their commander, Colonel Rida Yessa, patiently took the time to explain what his men are up against.
Our job here includes many things. One of them is to stop illegal immigrants, yes, but we also take care of illegal fishing and protecting the environment. Also, as you know, in nearby Sirte, our Misratan fighters, the Brigade 166, are fighting Daesh or ISIS. We also have to keep an eye on that.
A few days before the Coast Guard set out to interdict 700 migrants preparing to leave for Europe in the morning. But they ended up chasing 2 vessels used by ISIS to ferry wounded fighters from Sirte to a small town just south of Misrata. Although ISIS is supposed to be contained in Derna and Sirte, they have supporters around the Misrata area. ISIS later took over the power plant that the Afrikia was trying to refuel.
My problem is not the men. I have men who are qualified and can do anything. But I need the motor vessels. I need technology. We do our best. We would like to do more. We would like to give help to places like Zuwara and Tripoli. Technically, these places fall under my command. But all I have are 2 vessels, and the money is limited. Yes, some of my men are fishermen who joined after the revolution. But they still know discipline and fighting. They've been in the thick of it. They do pretty much everything that is needed from them.
Libya is getting bashed in the media and also by the EU for not doing enough to curb human smuggling. Ironically, Italy is sitting on 4 of the Libyan Coast Guard boats, which were sent for maintenance in 2012 and never returned. Although Italy purchases 1/3 of Libya's oil output, their former colonial master does not recognize the self-declared government based in Tripoli.
From the outsiders, all we get is promises. We got an official here once, from the United Nations, I think, yes. Yes, I think it was the UN. They brought us gallons of cleaning supplies and soap. That's not what we need. I first heard about this EU plan when I was at a meeting in the Canary Islands. There were commanders from Spain, Italy, the United States, and I heard some talk about this targeting of boats in the sea. The first thing I want to say is that when this happens, I don't want to hear any more talk about human rights. Secondly, if they target the harbor, everyone knows that the smuggling does not go on from there. They go from other sites. And how are you going to know what you're destroying? How are you going to know if what you're targeting aren't in fact fishermen's boats? I think this plan is unacceptable. The solution I see, as both as a colonel and as a Libyan, is for Europe to cooperate with Libya to fight this problem together.
Colonel Iyassa's men agree that the EU's proposed military solution against the smugglers' boat is not workable. They also add their concern that the EU is confused, sending Navy and Coast Guard ships to scoop up migrants right off Libya's shores, but then threatening Libya for encouraging them to leave. It was clear that when the Coast Guard gets a tip from a local fisherman or resident, Libya does stop migrants from sailing to Europe. But with the country's security force dealing with the threat of the Islamic State, it's easy to see how Europe's pressure on immigration might seem a distant concern for Colonel Yassa and his men. In the colonel's opinion, the last thing Libya needs is a military threat from Europe, while they are both sharing the common goal of fighting Islamic terrorists and rescuing migrants heading for Europe.